As Taiwan strives to maintain its independence, China is flexing its military muscle over the island with an implied ultimatum: war or loss of sovereignty. More than 145 Chinese military warplanes tested Taiwan's air defense over a 4-day span in a year full of provocative military posturing.
Well, we remain concerned by the People's Republic of China's provocative military activity near Taiwan, which is destabilizing, risks miscalculations, and undermines regional peace and stability.
The intimidation resumed Friday, October 1st, also the 72nd anniversary of China's communist state. Monday, we saw its largest incursion yet, flying 52 military aircraft across the Taiwan Strait.
We know that China is testing the Biden administration because after the fall of Afghanistan, they said they were going to go after Taiwan and that the U.S. wasn't going to do anything about it. And I think that's actually what leaders in Beijing think. So this is an exceedingly dangerous situation.
While analysts say it's not an imminent threat of war, earlier this year, the communist government pledged complete reunification with Taiwan, viewing it as a breakaway province that must be taken back. Taiwan's defense ministry rebuked the incursions, calling them brutal and barbaric, while the U.S. State Department called for the aggression to stop, saying, quote, "We urge Beijing to cease its military, diplomatic, and economic pressure and coercion against Taiwan."
We have a policy called strategic ambiguity, which means we don't tell anyone what we're going to do. That policy worked in a more peaceful time. It's not working now, which means we need to go to a policy of strategic clarity, telling China, we will defend Taiwan.
As tensions rise in the South Pacific, President Biden's alliance with Britain, Australia, and Japan is working to share defense resources and supply Australia with nuclear-powered submarines to ensure a stronger, long-term military presence in the region.
Our commitment to Taiwan is rock solid and contributes to the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and within the region.
The timing of China's forceful showing also comes while a strong NATO presence is patrolling nearby. It includes more than a dozen U.S., British, and Allied warships, including 3 aircraft carriers. Some see this not only as a message to Taiwan, but other world powers as well. Brody Carter, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Brody. Gordon, back to you.
Well, if you don't think Taiwan's important, let me talk about one little company. It's called Taiwan Semiconductor. If there's a shooting war between China and Taiwan, the Republic of China is what I ought to call it because that's how they call themselves, it would absolutely cripple. If you think there's a shortage of chips today, if there's a shooting war with Taiwan, all of that production goes away. And it would be catastrophic for all the tech for all the world. Now, you add to it, because it's a shooting war with China, all the tech currently being produced in China goes away, too. Well, now suddenly things get to be very serious. And you can kind of forget about your retirement funds. You can forget about the stock market. You can forget about the world economy. All of those would be thrown into the tank literally overnight. So this is unbelievably important and unbelievably strategic. For decades, Taiwan, Republic of China, has been an ally with the United States in Asia. They're a shining example of democracy in the region. They have had free and open elections for decades. They have the freedoms that you and I enjoy in terms of freedom of speech, of assembly. They are a great example. But we need to pay attention to some of the warnings that have been issued. I'll go back to Lee Kuan Yew, who was the Prime Minister of Singapore way back in 2013. He warned that the West does not understand the resolve of President Xi, that the current president of China. We do not understand his background. We do not understand his strength of will. And unless we start to understand that and get rid of this strategic ambiguity and start getting very clear with him, if you invade, we will defend. Without that, he's going to view it as weakness. And the withdrawal from Afghanistan will be a signal for him. And when you look at our current political situation, when you look at how we're dealing with all the domestic issues in our countries, the riots that occurred over the summer, the insurrection that occurred on January 6th. You look at these things, and is our democracy strong? Do we have resolve as a people? And I think when you look at the withdrawal from Afghanistan, you could easily see how Beijing could get the wrong message that we would not stand with Taiwan. It's now time for our State Department and our president to be quite clear as to what we will do. This is more than let's send aircraft carriers and create NATO alliances and work with England and Australia. There needs to be a broad regional alliance in Asia, and it needs to be very clear that America views Taiwan as a strategic partner. Until that clarity comes, we're going to continue to see this kind of belligerent action from China.